now tuned in to the third episode, BML's Two Scoop Podcast. This is your boy Chef Scoop. We're going over Pro Bowl rosters this week. We got a few comments from some owners. We're going to see what we turn out with from how the offseason went. Let's get into it. All right, as we get started here, we just want to jump right into it. First and foremost, we want to congratulate Rich215 on the Super Bowl win over I'ma Win It. You know, he, showed up and showed out in the Super Bowl. A thoroughly convincing victory over I'ma Win It. And we're not really sure if that was a result of, but whatever the case is, he got called up to the main league. So we wish him the best in his endeavors. We hope that, we'll eventually get moved up to him there as well. So we can go ahead and, continue the competition, keep things moving. But with that being said, we want to go ahead and jump into the first scoop, which is typically always the players. And when we're talking about the players, since this was the end of the season, we want to go ahead and shout out the Pro Bowl players, people who made the Pro Bowls, NFC, AFC. I'm going to get into it with the AFC first. So, QB1, AFC, of course, Andrew Luck. QB2, Phillip Rivers. QB3, Tom Brady. Halfback 1, which is no question, Nick Chubb. Halfback 2, Shady McCoy. Halfback 3, Melvin Gordon III. Then, of course, we got James Devlin and Patrick Ricard for fullbacks. Wide receivers 1 and 2 in the AFC, Tyreek Hill, Philip Dorsett, which that's not a surprise. Wide receivers 3 and 4, Antonio Brown, Amari Cooper. Wide receiver 5, Nuke from the Texans. Wide receiver 6, Emmanuel Sanders. Tight end 1, Jack Doyle from the Colts. Tight end 2, Rob Gronkowski. And then, of course, tight end 3, Gesicki from the Dolphins. The top 2 tackles for the AFC, Costanzo and Bitonio. The guard, Andrew Norwell, Quentin Nelson, centers, Rodney Hudson, Brandon Linder. The right guard, Marshall Yanda, David DeCastro. For the tackles, Mitchell Schwartz, Marcus Cannon. Switching over to the defensive side of the ball. The 2 left ends, Joey Bosa, Calais Campbell. Right end, Jabal Sheard, TJ Watt. D tackles there for the AFC. We got Maurice Hurst. We got Pierce from the Ravens. Malik Jackson coming in right there as well. Outside linebackers. Left outside linebackers. We got Jadon from the Ravens, as well as D Ford from the Chiefs. Middle linebackers, we got CJ Mosley, Vince Williams. Right outside linebacker, Telvin Smith, Justin Houston. And then with the cornerbacks, top 3 cornerbacks, Stephen Gilmore, Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie, Jason McCourty. 4th cornerback, Casey Hayward Jr. Starting free safety, Tyrann Mathieu. Back up, of course, Devin McCourty. So we got both McCourty brothers make the Pro Bowl. Starting safety, strong safety, Darquez Denard. Backup safety, Barry Church. With kicker being Gostkowski, and then Sanchez from the Colts is the punter. Then we got the kick returner, Bruce Ellington. Punt returner, Green from the Jaguars. Switching over to the NFC side, we just want to make sure we keep it moving. Of course, Carson Wentz got MVP. So, of course, he's going to be in the Pro Bowl. He's the QB1. QB2 is Garoppolo, of course, with Drew Brees pulling up the third. Halfback 1, halfback 2, Alvin Kamara is 1, Jay Ajayi 2. Halfback 3, Ezekiel Elliott. Fullback 1, Kyle Juszczyk. Fullback 2, Arma from the Panthers. Wide receiver 1, of course, he, balled out. Nelson Aguilar. Marquise Goodwin is wide receiver 2. Alshon Jeffrey is wide receiver 3, with Stephon Diggs and Pierre Garçon 4 and 5. Odell Beckham picking up number 6 wide receivers. Number 1 tight end, Zach Ertz. Kittle got the 2nd tight end spot for the NFC Pro Bowl side. Luke Wilson picking up the 3rd spot for the NFC side. Starting left tackle, David Bakhtiari with Jason Peters, who ended up retiring. There were tackles 1 and 2 respectively. Left guard 1, Brandon Sheriff. Left guard 2, Steven Wisnowski, also from the Eagles. Starting center, Jason Kelsey, again from the Eagles. They got a lot for the NFC. Alex Mack is the center 2. Right guard starter is Zach Martin, with Brandon Brooks, also from the Eagles. They had a lot of people make the Pro Bowl. Ryan Ramczyk is right tackle 1, with Darrell Williams right tackle 2. Preston Smith is left end 1, with Cam Jordan left end 2. Vic Beasley is right end 1, with Aaron Donald right end 2. Matt Ioannidis, D tackle 1. Fletcher Cox, D tackle 2. David Irvin, D tackle 3. Then the defensive player of the year, Nate Gary, left outside linebacker 1. Clay Matthews 2. Middle linebacker Luke Kuechly, and Wagner from the Seahawks picking up the 2nd middle linebacker spot. Right outside linebacker, we got Levante David starting, with Michael Kendricks back up right outside linebacker. Starting top 2 cornerbacks on the NFC side, Ronald Darby, Dante Jackson from the Panthers. Kennedy from the Broncos. Marshawn Lattimore is the 4th. Starting free safety, we got Marcus Williams. Buda Baker brings up the number 2 free safety spot. Adrian Amos and Bell from the Saints is the strong safeties respectively. Robbie Gould and Bradley Pinion is kickers and punters, so 49ers got both the special teams. Tavon Austin is the top kick returner, with Curtis Samuels from the Panthers being the top punt returner. So then now what we're going to do here, we're going to slide right into the top 10 free agent signings to, kind of let everybody know who was there, who was the top 10. So starting at number 10, Jason McCourty. So he, didn't get re-signed for the Patriots. He ended up going to the Jets. Kevin Benjamin was number 9. That money that they would have had for Jason McCourty ended up going to Kevin Benjamin. So Kevin Benjamin signed with the Pats. Kenny Vaccaro, he signed with the Bucks. He was number 8. Number 7 top free agent was Trey Boston. He signed with the Giants. Number 6 top free agent was Trevor Williams, cornerback. He signed with the Texans, as well as Michael Kendricks. He signed with the Texans as well. So Texans seem like they got 2 crucial parts to help boost their defense. Danny Shelton was number 4. Nose tackle, D tackle, however you want to play him. He went to the Chiefs. That's a vital part for the Chiefs. Vital part for the Chiefs. Number 3, Jason Verrett, which was the top cornerback that was on the board, that was available in free agency. He went to the Colts, so the Colts got stronger. He was already dominant as it was. He just added another, pretty much a lockdown cornerback from the Chargers. Now he's on the Colts. Jay Ajayi went to the Dolphins. He went back to the Dolphins, left the Eagles. And Brandon Graham went to the Bills. That was a big pickup for him there. He was the number 1 free agent that left the Eagles. He signed with the Bills, as well as Tyrod Taylor signed with the Bills. So those are 2 clutch pieces for him there, but mainly Brandon Graham coming in to help solidify the defensive line. They already had Shaq Lawson. They already had, Hughes. So it helped solidify them there. So then, I got a few quotes for some draft storyline players. So, I'll just go in alphabetical order for how the, NFL teams went. I'll let you know who they drafted, where they went. So we got the Bengals. They drafted running back TJ Barrera in the 6th round with the first pick from New Mexico State. Now, the biggest thing coming out regarding him was that he was slower than expected. And, you know, kind of looking at him, he definitely had some left to be desired. Low 80s as far as foot speed here. So I spoke to the team, and regarding if he's going to make the roster or not, or if he's going to get cut, pretty much their quote is saying, we're going to keep him. He's going to be a beast. Just watch. He's a very slept on prospect, and we're going to take the time to get him into the rotation. We're hoping he can become the next Jerome Bettis. So they're expecting, you know, for him to play a very focal point in that team. They're expecting for him to really come in and show up and show out and, you know, really be an impact player for them. Moving on, we're going into looking at the Bills. Now, the Bills had a heck of an offseason. You know, getting Brandon Graham in free agency, Tyrod Taylor. Then, of course, you have 2 first-round picks. They traded away Josh Allen. And, you know, you pick up with your first pick in the first round, you picked up the Olympian Fernando Door. They got him at the 12th pick. Then you go and pick up 23-year-old right tackle Deron Dockery from USC with the 22nd pick. So, one of my questions that I asked with spending a first-round pick and other sequential draft picks on the O-line, you know, how do you feel like this will be able to help the team? And so, after speaking to the Bills, this is what they said to me regarding the offense and the O-line. Quote, well, after my first year as GM last year, we had a ton of glaring holes. We decided that we would address the offensive line in the draft and our skill position issues in free agency. We thought extremely of Doc, which is, you know, Deron Dockery, and couldn't pass him up as we thought he was the best pure pass blocker in the draft. We followed that up by grabbing Holden Groom out of Nevada in the second, who will start next to Doc at left guard or right guard. He'll just start. And Gregory Carman, who will be a starter at the right guard position next to Dawkins. So, you know, Groom or Carman might be starting left guard, right guard. I don't think he really decided exactly what he's going to do yet. Everything from training camp indicates that these three, along with the rest of the O-line, is gelling very well. Tyrod seems generally excited about this group and believes that they'll be able to be in the catalyst for the Bills' second playoff trip in 3 years. As a GM, I know there will be growing pains, but I believe the same thing. And that's cool because later on you'll see I did project the Bills to make the playoffs. I mean, they had a hell of an offseason, and I expect this to be able to be a catalyst to help get them in the playoffs, at least as a wild card. Now, my second question was, what type of impact does he feel that Olympian Fernando Door will have? You know, coming in, he's 24 years old. He's a former Olympian. So I wanted to see, you know, you got to see if you're going to be able to get anything out of him, if it's going to be tangible. He said, you know, I quote, we absolutely feel the Door was worth the pick, and he's nothing but the real deal as a run-stopping D-tackle. As you mentioned, he is a former Olympian and has some amazing metrics for a guy that is 6'5", 303. He was ranked second or third in true talent for rookies in this draft, and when we saw him still there at 12, we couldn't pass him up. To be honest, we had been expecting to grab the offensive lineman from Texas A&M, Royberg, at that draft position, and he was available there at the same time. However, when we saw Door on the list, we had to make the best pick possible. Doors came out of rookie minicamp and impressed so much that he is now the starting number 1 D-tackle without question going into the preseason and into the regular season. Newly acquired Brandon Graham and Bills vets Jerry Hughes have agreed to take him under their wing, so we will see how he develops over the years under their tutelage. And I have to say that I agree that they have one of the most formidable defensive lines in the league now. Again, you already had Hughes, you already had Shaq Lawson, you brought in Brandon Graham, and then you draft Fernando Door. So you're expecting we're going to dominate the opposing team's offensive line. And I like this strategy that he has. I can't back it enough. I'm a firm believer on building in the trenches. He spent draft picks on the offensive line. He spent major draft picks on the defensive line and in free agency. I got to give this dude 2 scoops. You know, I got to give him 2 scoops on that because he definitely did what he needed to do in the trenches. You're not going to be able to do anything with any type of targets that you have without strengthening your trenches. So kudos to the Bills. I hope he makes the playoffs. Hope that his, you know, off-season, you know, ethics paid off and he'll be able to reap some rewards for it. So moving on to the Broncos here, I asked them, you know, asked him a question regarding how does he feel about drafting, one of, if not the best offensive lineman in the draft. And he responded back to me, the team responded back to me with a quote, he's already the best O-lineman that we have, and we didn't even play a game yet. Broncos O-line last season had 2 guys that were 68 overall in our team rating system, and that job just wasn't getting done. We had trouble in the run game and didn't have time for routes to develop. We moved in the right guard and signed an upgraded tackle for what we had, and I'm hoping he's the next Zach Martin or David DeCastro. He's a scheme fit, so I'm curious to see, how long it'll take, what his development will be in about a year or so. So, I mean, definitely coming in, I feel that with the Broncos drafting Ray Roberg from A&M at the 16th pick in the first round, he definitely was a top player. He was someone that you figure you could plug him in and he'll be just like how Quentin Nelson was for the Colts, a franchise guard that you'll plug in and be a perennial Pro Bowler. You don't have to think twice about him. He'll just slide right in and that, you'll be moving forward. So now, moving on to the Browns. So the Browns picked up a few players here. They picked up Anthony Taylor, Arkansas State, the tackle who had a few run-ins with the defensive end from Oklahoma. They got him at the 15th pick in the first round. They drafted, breakout running back Walker Henderson in the 3rd round, 29th pick, and as well as they picked up the fullback that didn't really seem like his heart was in it, Allen Simonson from Clemson. They got him in the 4th round with the 15th pick. So I asked him, I was like, you had Nick Chubb last year, led the league in rushing, running back of the year, made the Pro Bowl, all the accolades, rookie of the year for the AFC, offensive rookie of the year for the AFC, everything that you could have expected from him, he lived up and exceeded his potential. Then you added a fullback, another running back, and a tackle. So it's like, I asked him, what do you feel the league, league will be on notice about your run game? What do you feel how the league should be worried? And, they responded by, thanks for reaching out to us. We were a little disappointed because we passed on the center that ended up being, graded at 80 overall in our scouting system, which was Ray Roberg. So you can see it's a few teams already had their eye on Ray Roberg. The running back Henderson does have, star development, but don't think they can do much with him. He has 86 speed, 82 excel, so they're not really thinking that he has much of development there. Turns out that the fullback that they drafted, Allen Simonson, isn't much of a blocking fullback. He's more of a utility fullback. So it looks like they got 2 picks there, 2 players there that's not really who they thought they were. But it was like, with that being said, they look forward to the season. Chubb was able to develop quite a bit with all the experience he earned last season. They feel like, they're going to have to pass more because people will definitely be looking for the run. But they was like, how intimidated should the league be? Not sure. Winning games is the most important, will always come before getting stats. Last season, we literally was 1 game away from the playoffs and it came down to week 17. And, we don't want to give a shout out. We do want to give a shout out to a 6'4" wide receiver we drafted, 93 jumping, pretty much all catching stats in the mid 80s. So they're expecting to, skydive on some people with this 6'4" wide receiver. And they'll be looking to get him some looks moving forward. This organization is going to try real hard to make the playoffs this year. It's great to be, it's not going to be easy with such a great rivalry going on with the Ravens in the first half of the schedule being as tough as it is. And they was like, they appreciate the interview. And we appreciate y'all getting back to us. There was a few teams that didn't respond to us. The Eagles didn't get back to us. And, they drafted the Heisman winner Sylvester Macklin, as well as Houston Wooten from Buffalo, but they didn't get back to us. So then moving on, we spoke to the Jets. Jets run a 3-4 scheme. They were able to get DeMichael Fairley from Oklahoma. He went at pick number 11. So that's a couple Oklahoma players that went in the first round. So that, I asked them, getting a vital piece like DeMichael Fairley in Oklahoma scheme, how do you feel like he'll fit in? How do you feel like he'll do? And then it's like, we were not expecting to draft a linebacker with our first round pick. But when we see him, saw him available at the 11th pick, we had to take him. He was graded pretty high. And it was like, with our 3-4 scheme, we depend on our linebackers a lot. Fairley has the explosiveness and the strength to keep this defense as one of the top defenses against the run, but most importantly, he's an outside rush linebacker that knows how to play against play well against the passing game. We struggled so much last year that we expect him to make a big impact on both the rushing and passing game starting from week 1 of the regular season. So they feel confident that, they took best player available. They already had somebody there that was at his position, but they feel comfortable if they took best player available. They feel like he'll jump right in. He'll be able to rush the passer and stop the run and play in pass coverage. So they was like, just couldn't pass up on the talent. It's kind of similar to what the Jets did in the years past when they had Sheldon Richardson and they had the other defensive lineman and they drafted, Leonard Williams. So I'm like, hey, if you already got it, if you see somebody there that's so high on your draft board that you couldn't pass, I don't blame you. Stack that talent, man. So now we transition to the Rams. Rams had an off season. I spoke to the Rams because I'm like, this team was so loaded coming into the first inaugural of the season where stick skills is king. And they just didn't live up to the billing. And he told me that most of that was because Jared Goff got hurt. So I wanted to reach out to him and, kind of see what type of impact do we feel like they will have with Samuel Beasley, which is a stud Olympian cornerback. And they already had Marcus Peters and Aqib Talib. So he told me, Goff went down for 6 games last season, which sent our season into a bit of a tailspin. We think we're still built to win now, and Samuel Beasley is a part of that. Aqib Talib is 33 and on the last year of his contract. And after seeing Samuel work out this spring, we feel that he's ready to step in and play right away. To answer your question about this team living up to its potential this season, we've got 53 guys and the coaching staff that intend to do that. So he's definitely saying that he's going to give the Niners a run for their money. He's not going to just let them come in and, backstroke into the playoffs like they're lounging at a pool with a pina colada. Like they plan to come in and definitely show up and show out this year. They plan to make some noise in the NFC West, and we hope to see what can happen from that. Moving on, we have the Ravens here. Now the Ravens drafted RJ Green from Troy, 4th round, 21st pick. He would have went higher, but he did get hurt. He healed a little bit quicker than was expected, but of course he's still an injury risk. So I would have thought he would have went late 2nd, early 3rd, but because of the injury history, he did drop a little bit. So I reached out to the Ravens, to see, what they feel about the future of the free safety spot, even though they drafted RJ Green. How is that going to play out, especially with Eric Weddle on the last ride of his career. He said the future free safety is not on the roster yet. We like RJ, but he lacks the speed that we want in that position. And Deshaun Elliott has shown us, which is their rookie safety they got last year, that he has the acceleration to break on the ball, and that's what we like. But we like our safeties to show that there's something there, but there's not really anything there yet. So that's something that more than most likely they'll either be trying to get a trade or a free agency or something. So right now these players are looking like just depth players, maybe special team role players, but he definitely doesn't feel like the safeties that he have with RJ Green that he drafted in the 4th round, as well as with Deshaun Elliott from last year, is the future. And so that's definitely something to be on the lookout for. The Ravens, making sure they get somebody to replace Eric Weddle more than most likely after this season. So then going into the Steelers. The Steelers, this is the other, Oklahoma prospect, the one that Anthony Taylor handled up on during the season, Antoine Posey. I asked the Steelers, with the team already being so loaded at the D-line, what does he feel like his plan is with Antoine Posey? And he was like, I don't really have Antoine Posey. It's nice to have him and be able to spell him and give him time to develop professionally. So it was just short and sweet. We didn't hear back from the Texans. The Texans drafted Ben Tang from Houston. He was a dude that was pretty much had other interests off the field, more than most likely, Wall Street, stock market. He was drafted in the 3rd round, 9th pick. And then we didn't hear back from the Titans, who drafted who I consider the next Luke Kuechly, the next Reuben Foster, middle linebacker Morgan Painter from Stanford. They drafted him at the 5th. I didn't hear back from the Titans either, but that's okay. we just moving forward with it. But for the ones who did get back to us, who did give us a comment about their rookies that they drafted, that we have been following throughout the year, we appreciate you. We appreciate your response, and we'll move forward here on to the second scoop. So the second scoop here is strictly, division projections. Pretty much who I expect to win each division. Then I'm going to give my projection for who I feel is going to make the playoffs for AFC, NFC, and then I'm going to give you all my prediction for who I think is going to be in the Super Bowl. So starting with the AFC South, I expect the Colts to win that again. I definitely feel that they'll continue to represent. I think I'm going to win it. I think he's an excellent user. Feel like adding Jason Verrett, I definitely feel like that'll be monumental in their defense and continue things up. So I definitely feel like that'll be a great pick for them. Moving into the AFC East, I feel the Pats will go ahead and win that. I feel like they'll be dominant enough to, go ahead and close it out again. I feel like they'll be the 2 seed. I feel like the Colts will be the 1 seed. Looking at it moving forward, I feel for the 3 seed, that's where the AFC West will come in, and with the Chiefs, I feel like with them adding Shelton for the nose tackle spot, that'll help go ahead and solidify their run defense, to be able to hold some things up, to allow those linebackers to free range and do what they need to do. And then moving into the 4th seed, I feel like the Ravens will go ahead and win the AFC North again. Browns just can't get over that hump just yet, but they're definitely building for the future. But yeah, I still feel like the 4th seed will be the AFC North with the Ravens. Moving into the wild card. Now this is where I had a few little, back and forth with myself. I definitely feel like the Jags will be able, with that type of defense, still feel like they'll be able to be successful. I feel like they'll be the 5th seed. The 6th seed, I went back and forth between the Bills and the Dolphins. Like I said, I told you, I feel like the Bills will make the playoffs. This is where I put them. I put them at the 6th seed in the AFC. Moving to the NFC side, I feel like the number 1 seed will be the 49ers. But, taking care of the NFC West, now that Rich 215 is gone, I don't feel like the Eagles will be as dominant as they was before. I feel like the 2 seed will be the Saints, NFC South. Go ahead and represent for the NFC South, taking care of their 2 seed. I feel like the 3 seed will be the Vikings, NFC North. As long as he's there, it has been some question about the validity of his gameplay, but we'll see how that pans out. If he stays and he's able to, skirt by not getting suspended or anything like that, I feel like he'll definitely be able to take, get the NFC North crown and be able to be the number 3 seed. 4th, I feel like my Redskins, we'll be able to go ahead and get the NFC East. We finished 2nd in the division last year. The top dude that won the division and didn't win the Super Bowl, he's no longer here. I feel like we'll be able to go ahead and take that, get the 4th seed. Redskins, my team, winning the NFC East. I feel like the Panthers will be a wild card spot. And then I feel like the Eagles will still have a good enough team to where they'll just win on talent alone. I feel like they'll get the 6th seed for the wild card. I feel like the 2 teams that'll be in the Super Bowl, AFC representative, I feel like the Colts is going back. I feel like from the NFC, I feel like the Saints will get over that hump this year and be able to beat the 49ers in the NFC Championship. I feel like it'll be a Colts Super Bowl again. Colts Saints Super Bowl again. With the Colts finally getting that W that he was supposed to get. He's been getting for a while now. As far as with everything else, that's the Two Scoops podcast for the BML. We'll look forward to our next episode. Until then, peace.